Hello YouTubers, and welcome to another Doctor Who action figure review. This time I shall be reviewing yet another classic action figure set. I've not done one of these for quite a while. I think this is the first one I've done this year. And it is of the Time Monster set, which is a set which comprises of the Master, as played by Roger Delgado, his TARDIS, which is disguised as a computer bank. We have a Kronos crystal, and we have this, which I believe is a device which is used by the Doctor. Not really entirely sure, as I've not seen the Time Monster yet, as I've heard different opinions about the story. It's not a good story, it's a pretty bad story. I will see it eventually, but it comes in the Myths and Legends box set, and a lot don't like that box set. So you won't see a review of that anytime soon, and I won't be seeing it anytime soon. It'll be one of the last classic series stories that I'll watch, just to get that out there. So yeah, this set, anyway, is quite a good set. It sees a re-release of the Master from the Claws of Axos set, which came with the Axon, the red Axon, not the humanoid Axon, what you saw earlier this year. And he came in that set, and now they re-released the Master in this set. I've not got the Master and Axon set. I've got this one. I might get the Axon one day as a loose figure or something, like the Crinoid, as I got that as a loose figure as well. So first of all, let's take a look at the Master, seeing as I've not actually reviewed him yet, and you think I would, seeing as Roger Delgado is probably my favourite Master out of them all. And you can see that the likeness straight away is absolutely spot on. It looks just like Roger Delgado. The skin tone on his face is just about accurate. Just looks like how we did in all of his stories, and even his beard is nicely detailed. You've got the black beard, as you can see, and you've got like streaks of grey. You may not be able to tell. It looks a bit blurry for some reason. Might just be me. And of course you have the little white strips on his beard as well, which I really love. I think it's really cool. You also have the same sort of effect. You have like the black paint on his hair, and they've like given it a sort of little grey wash as well, because he was in his 50s at the time when he played the Master. And he's also raising an eyebrow a little bit, so it seems, and his eyes just look mesmerising. He just look like he's going to hypnotise you. So I really like the likeness on this. I think it's perfect. And of course his costume is also perfect. It's the costume what he wore throughout a majority of his time in Doctor Who. It's the costume what he wore starting from the end of The Mind of Evil, and he's worn it a majority of times, so I take it he wore it in this story, the Time Monster. He definitely wore it in the Claws of Axos. I'm not sure about the Time Monster. As I said earlier, I don't have that story, I've never seen it. I know I should really have seen it by now, but I've heard it's a bad story, so I'm holding on. And I think he wore this in the Sea Devils and in his last story, Frontier in Space. But I just love his costume. Just look at it, it's just all detailed. It's just brilliant. I love it. I'll just give you a look around his costume. So you've got bits of creases, not really that much. And yeah, you might think, oh, it's not really that detailed, it's mainly in black, but I really like the figures that have like black clothing. I think it really stands out on the shelf. I think this figure really does stand out on the shelf. It just looks like Roger Delgado, and bless him, if he was alive and he saw this, I'm sure that he would be pretty pleased. Of course, he comes with his accessory as well, which is this, which is known as the tissue compressor eliminator, which can be abbreviated into the TCE. The handle is this part, the silver part, and here is like where he fires out and he shrinks people with it. I'm really glad that he came with this, as this is like sort of the master's sonic screwdriver of the time, if you will. Except it was a very deadly weapon as opposed to something that just opens doors and whatnot. And I really like his sleeves as well. As you can see, they've painted a little bit of white, which supposedly comes underneath. He also comes with black gloves, which I think is a nice touch, seeing as he wore gloves a lot in his stories. I'm glad that they just didn't give him normal human hands, as most figures come with human hands. One thing I would like to see is Jon Pertwee with gloves, seeing as he wore gloves in his stories as well. They could just easily use the gloves from this figure and then just swap them on the Jon Pertwee figure. So overall, this figure is an excellent figure, and for all of you Roger Delgado fans, including me, then I absolutely recommend picking up this set just for this guy. That's the reason why I picked this up, because I looked at the shelf, I thought, well, I've got all the Masters released, but I don't have this guy, and it's an absolute sin not to have this guy. So definitely pick this set up for this Master, as he is probably the definitive version out there. So we'll just move him out of the way. Take a look at the other accessory, sort of. It's more of a diorama, and it is the computer bank which you see in this story, and it is the Master's TARDIS. There's no door on it, which is a bit of a, I don't know, it's a bit weird. It's just there, really. It's just a diorama. It's just there on my shelf. It's a bit odd, but it's nicely detailed. It's a die-cast piece. It's no movement whatsoever, so you can't move these things here. It's just all painted on, detailed. But I like how they've detailed it. You know, you've got all the buttons and all the slots and all the wires and the box where I suppose all the electricity was stored, and you've got the wheels, what you saw. You know, you saw them a lot, especially in the unit science labs back in the Jon Pertwee era. So it's a nice touch, I guess. Not the best thing in the world, but I suppose it looks alright on the shelf if you put it with the figures surrounding it. At the bottom it's got a hole, and it just says like all the info. I'm glad they put it at the bottom and not just like slap bang on the front. It would have been a real pain if they did that. So yeah, it's alright. It's just one piece of plastic. I just suppose it's just there to make your shelf look good. And lastly, we just have some other accessories, such as the Chronos crystal, which you see in the story, nicely detailed. Got that crystal look. And we also have this thing, which has an odd shape, but I won't say what it's shaped like. You can work that out for yourself. That's nicely detailed. And lastly, we just go back to the Master and we go to his articulation. It's pretty much the same as standard articulation in line. You know, his head can move, and it can do a 360. His arms can do a 360, biceps and elbow joints and The wrists can do a 360. The legs can move back and forth. They can go to the side as well. And the knees can bend. And I don't think there's ankle articulation. But I'm not really that fussed about the articulation on this. I think the articulation is perfect, as well as the detail of this amazing figure. So thank you very much for watching this review of the Time Monster set. I hope that you enjoyed it as much as I have enjoyed making this video for all of you. Stay tuned next time.